In the sunburnt village of Amiri, where the red dust clung to the feet of children like a stubborn memory, a girl named Chidinma lived in silence and survival. Only 22, yet her eyes bore the weariness of a woman 3 times her age. Her once soft hands were calloused from labor. Her voice rarely rose above a whisper, and her heart had long stopped hoping for miracles. Chidinma had not always known sorrow. There was a time her father, Papa Natazi, had been a proud farmer, known for his laughter and his large hands that cradled her head lovingly after long days in the fields. But after Mama's death 5 years ago, Papa changed. Grief crawled into his bones and twisted him into something cruel. When he married Auntie Ego, the village women shook their heads in disapproval. Ego was sharp-tongued and wicked, with no love in her heart for a girl who reminded her of another woman's ghost. Every day, Chidinma woke before dawn to cook, sweep, fetch firewood, and help on the farm. Many nights she went to bed on an empty stomach, the red dust still clinging to her legs. The villagers pitied her, but no one dared intervene. Papa Natazi was feared, a man whose anger now burned hotter than the midday sun. Then came Ikenna, a young man from the city with eyes that held both stories and secrets. His clothes were faded, his shoes worn at the heel, but his back was strong, and his spirit never complained. For 3 months, Ikenna worked Papa Natazi's land, clearing thickets, digging trenches, planting cassava under blazing heat. But no pay ever came. Come next week. Wait till I sell something. Just be patient. One afternoon, as the sun painted the world in orange and sweat soaked Ikenna's shirt, he approached the compound with desperation in his voice. "Sir, please, I need my money today," he said. Papa Natazi scratched his unshaven chin, looked around idly, then his eyes settled on Chidinma, who was sweeping with tired hands. "You want money?" he asked with a dark chuckle. "Yes, sir. I worked hard." "Then take her," Papa Natazi barked, pointing at his daughter. "That's your payment." The broom fell from Chidinma's hand. "Papa, please." "Shut your mouth," he roared. "You should be happy someone wants you. You bring nothing but burden." Auntie Ego crossed her arms, nodding with satisfaction. Good. One less mouth to feed. Chidinma's knees hit the ground. Her tears were hot, her voice shaking. "Please, don't send me away like this." But no one listened. Ikenna stood frozen. He hadn't expected this barbaric trade of a human soul. Yet, as he looked at her, broken and trembling, something shifted in his heart. Her beauty was not just in her face, but in the quiet fire that hadn't gone out, despite her suffering. "She's beautiful," he muttered under his breath. "What did you say?" Papa asked. "I'll take her," Ikenna replied. Just like that, Chidinma's fate turned. She packed her clothes in a black plastic bag. No hugs, no prayers. Her little stepbrother Obinna waved from behind the hut, crying silently. She walked behind Ikenna as they left the village. Each step away from Amiri felt both like death and rebirth. The journey from Amiri to the city was long and dusty. As the bus swayed over potholes and passed through sleepy towns and endless trees, Chidinma sat by the window, her bag clutched to her chest. Her eyes drank in every unfamiliar sight, but her heart was heavy. She had left the only home she knew, even if it was a house of sorrow. Beside her, Ikenna sat silently, his elbows on his knees, eyes locked on the road ahead. Every now and then he'd glance sideways at her, then look away just as quickly. She was still wrapped in silence, her thoughts swirling like a whirlwind. "Lord, please," she prayed in her heart, "don't let this man be cruel like Papa. Give me peace. I am tired." By late afternoon, they arrived in the city. The noise was overwhelming. Cars honked without mercy. Street vendors shouted, and neon signs blinked like restless eyes. Chidinma's breath caught in her throat. She had never seen buildings so tall or people so rushed. They boarded a small tricycle, and Ikenna gave quiet instructions to the driver. The ride ended in front of a black gate nestled on a quiet street lined with bougainvillea flowers. Ikenna knocked. A few seconds later, the gate creaked open. Chidinma's mouth fell slightly ajar. The compound was spotless. A fountain whispered softly in one corner. Birds chirped lazily in their cages, and the main house, painted white with gold trimmings, stood like a palace. But they didn't enter the mansion. Instead, Ikenna led her to the back of the property where a small, tidy bungalow stood. "This is the boys' quarters," he said with a soft smile. "It's where I live." Chidinma blinked, surprised. "You live here?" "Yes," he said. "I recently got a job as a security guard here. The Madam Ketchy, is kind. She let me stay here for free as long as I keep the compound safe." The small house had a bedroom, a modest sitting room, a tiny kitchen, and a bathroom. To Chidinma, it was a palace. The roof didn't leak. The walls didn't scream. The bed had clean sheets. She closed her eyes for a moment and whispered, "If this is God's plan, so be it." Ikenna watched her silently, noting how her posture slowly eased, how the light in her eyes flickered like a lamp refusing to die. "Are you okay with this place?" he asked. She nodded. "I have peace. I haven't felt that in a long time." 2 days passed. On the third morning, Chidinma woke to the scent of something delicious. Her eyes fluttered open to sunlight peeking through the curtains. For the first time in years, she had slept deeply. No shouts, no footsteps in anger, no hunger pangs. She stepped into the kitchen and found Ikenna cooking. "Good morning," she said shyly. He turned with a smile. "Good morning, Chidinma. I made breakfast. I hope you slept well." She smiled. Like a baby. After they ate, Ikenna wiped his hands and stood. "Get dressed. I want you to meet someone." "Who?" she asked. "You'll see. Just wear something simple." She returned moments later in a soft blue gown he had bought for her from a roadside stall. Her hair was brushed back. Her heart beat faster with every step they took toward the main house. At the door stood an elegant woman in her late 50s. Her wrapper was neatly tied, and her hair was pulled into a neat bun. Her eyes were sharp but kind. "Good morning, Ma," Ikenna greeted. "Morning, Ikenna. And who is this beautiful young lady?" "This is Chidinma," he replied. "My wife." Madam Ketchy raised an eyebrow with a soft smile. "So this is the wife you mentioned. Lovely indeed. Come inside, my dear." The living room glistened. Chidinma's feet hesitated on the marble floor. Everything smelled of lemon and lavender. "You are welcome," Madam Ketchy said, taking her hand gently. "You have a gentle spirit. I like that." "Thank you, Ma," Chidinma whispered. "You can call me Maman Ketchy. This house is big enough for peace. If you need anything, let me know." Back in the boys' quarters later that night, Ikenna was fixing a handle on the wardrobe when Chidinma finally found the words that had been building in her heart. "Ikenna," she called softly. "Yes." She hesitated. "When my father gave me to you, I felt like garbage, something thrown away. I thought maybe you'd be worse than him. I thought I was walking into another cage." Ikenna stood slowly, his eyes on hers. "But you weren't," she continued. "You gave me rest. You respected me. You even cooked for me. I want to say thank you. I don't regret coming here." He reached out, took her hand. "I would never hurt you, Chidinma. That's not the man I want to be." She looked up, tears threatening to fall. "Do you know," he added gently, "I liked you the first day I saw you on your father's farm. But I had nothing. I was afraid he'd chase me away." She blinked. "You like me?" He smiled. "We offered you as payment. It broke my heart, but it also felt like a door opened. I don't love you yet," she whispered. "I'm not rushing you," he replied. "But I feel seen," she said. "I feel like a queen." He touched her cheek. "That's because you are." And in that small room behind a mansion of secrets, something rare began to bloom. Not passion, but trust. Not wealth, but dignity. The days rolled into weeks, and Chidinma began to glow in her new life. She cooked with joy, cleaned with rhythm in her steps, and wrote down new recipes in a small notebook Ikenna had bought for her. For the first time in years, her laughter echoed through walls. But shadows, even in the brightest homes, find cracks to slip through. One afternoon, while preparing Maman Ketchy's favorite vegetable soup, the kitchen door creaked open. Chidinma turned and froze. A tall, clean-shaven young man in designer sandals stood by the doorway, arms folded, watching her with eyes full of amusement. "Damn," he said softly. "You are beautiful." Chidinma blinked. "Good afternoon, sir." He chuckled. "No need for sir. I'm just Damilola, Mama's only son." She offered a polite smile and returned to slicing the ugu leaves. "My mom told me about you. I thought she was exaggerating. But now that I see you," he took a step closer. "Wow." Chidinma's hands didn't stop moving, but her heart tightened. Damilola's gaze was intense, lingering too long. "I'll be in the main house if you ever want to chat," he added, flashing a perfect white smile before strolling out. She exhaled deeply. That evening, back at the boys' quarters, Ikenna was sitting outside, sharpening his cutlass. "Welcome back, my queen," he said as she sat beside him. Chidinma's smile was faint. "Damilola came into the kitchen today," she said. Ikenna looked up. "Oh." He said some strange things. Called me beautiful. Said I shouldn't call him sir. The way he looked at me, it made me uncomfortable. Ikenna frowned, but quickly brushed it off. That's just how Damilola talks. He's a big city guy. Don't mind him. "But Ikenna," she whispered. There was something in his eyes. He reached for her hand. "You're safe here. I'll always protect you." She nodded, but her heart stayed unsettled. 2 days later, Damilola returned, this time more direct. "You know," he said, leaning against the door as she fried plantains, "the way you cook, it's not just food, it's art." "Thank you, sir," she replied stiffly. "Chidinma." "Let's skip formalities. I'll go straight to the point." He stepped closer. "I like you, and I'm serious. I'll change your life. Want to study? I'll send you abroad. Want comfort? I'll spoil you." She froze. "You don't belong in this boy's quarters. You're wasting your time with a man who can't offer you anything." She slowly turned to face him, eyes steady. "With all due respect, I am not interested." His brow furrowed. "I'm married. I'm focused on my dream, and I won't trade dignity for luxury." Damilola scoffed. "You call that thing with Ikenna marriage? You deserve better." Chidinma's voice didn't rise, but her words were iron. "I would rather dream of a man who respects me than live a lie with someone who sees me as a possession." He stepped back, clearly irritated. "You'll regret this." "No," she replied. "If loving my husband is a mistake, then I will make it again and again." Later that evening, Ikenna noticed her silence. "Talk to me," he said gently. Chidinma exhaled. Damilola came again. "Offer me school abroad, money, clothes. If I leave you." Ikenna's jaw clenched. "What did you say?" I told him no. I told him I believe in you. I trust what we are building. He held her, eyes misty. "Thank you, Chidinma. You've given me more than love. You've given me strength." That night, Chidinma couldn't sleep. The mansion that once felt like refuge now pressed down on her. The next morning, she walked to the main house. Her knock was soft, but her heart was pounding. Mama and Nkechi opened the door, smiling. "Chidinma, my daughter, come in." Chidinma stepped inside, and "Saturday, Ma, I came to speak about something very serious." The woman's smile faded. "It's about your son." "Mama," Nkechi straightened in her seat. "He's been troubling me, Ma, saying things, offer me money, trying to take me away from my husband." I kept quiet, but I can't anymore. "Mama," Nkechi was silent for a long moment. "My son," she said finally, "has his flaws. But you're wise, beautiful, a good woman. Maybe he sees your potential." Chidinma frowned. "Ma, what if," the woman continued, "you considered a better life? We can give you education, comfort, more than Ikenna ever can." Tears welled up in Chidinma's eyes. "Ma, with all due respect, I didn't come here to sell myself." The room was silent. "I chose my husband because he gave me peace when the world gave me pain. If your son doesn't stop, we will leave. We may have little, but we have love." She stood, bowed lightly, and walked out, her spine straight, her soul on fire. Back at the boys' quarters, she wiped away hot tears and whispered, "Enough is enough. but nothing could prepare her for what she'd discover next. That evening, she entered the house and stopped. Bundles of money sat neatly on the table. "Ikenna," she called. What is all this?" He emerged slowly from the bedroom, eyes solemn. "I saved it over time," he said. "I wanted to use it to start my business. But after what you did today, after you chose love over luxury, I want you to use it for your university dream." She was speechless. "No," she said. "This is your dream, too. We'll start a small business. Together, I'll help run it. Then later, I'll go to school." Tears filled his eyes. "You want us to leave?" "Yes," she said. "Let's build our own future, on our own terms." He took her hand. "You are more than I ever dreamed of, Chidinma." They embraced, not just as husband and wife, but as partners in purpose. But behind the gate, eyes watched them, and the biggest secret of all was yet to come. The sun dipped low behind the compound wall, casting golden light over the flower beds. Inside the boys' quarters, Chidinma sat quietly, hands folded in her lap. Her mind raced, not just with the weight of Mama Nkechi's offer, but the startling bundle of cash Ikenna had laid bare. He had chosen her dreams over his own. She couldn't forget that. By morning, Ikenna had already stepped out, leaving behind a short note scribbled on a piece of brown paper. "I've gone out to arrange something. I'll be back before evening. Love, Ikenna." She smiled faintly but couldn't shake the feeling that something unusual was stirring beneath the surface. Just as she sat down to clean the sitting room, there was a knock on the door. Chidinma hesitated, then opened it. There stood Mama Nkechi and Damilola. Both were dressed simply, but their expressions were solemn. "Good morning, my daughter," the older woman said gently. "Please, may we come in?" Chidinma stepped back silently. They entered. Mama Nkechi took a deep breath. "We came to apologize, from the bottom of our hearts, for everything." Damilola lowered his head. "I was arrogant, foolish. I'm ashamed of how I treated you. Please forgive me." Chidinma said nothing at first. She watched them closely, her body tense. Mama Nkechi continued, "You are a rare woman, Chidinma. Not many would stand their ground the way you did. You're not just Ikenna's wife. You are our wife." Chidinma's eyes narrowed. "Your wife." Mama Nkechi smiled faintly. "You'll understand soon." They stood and left as quickly as they came, leaving Chidinma more confused than ever. That evening, Ikenna returned, sweaty, tired, but with a peaceful look in his eyes. "Ikenna," she called, standing up. "Where were you all day?" He looked at her for a long moment, then took her hands. "There's something I need to tell you. Something I should have told you a long time ago." Chidinma's heart skipped. "I lied to you," he said softly. Her breath caught. "Lied about what?" He sat down, then gestured for her to sit beside him. "Damilola isn't just a landlady's son. He's my younger brother. And Mama Nkechi is not my employer. She's my mother." The silence was deafening. Chidinma stared at him, her mind spinning. "What?" "I'm sorry, my love," he said. "I didn't want to deceive you, but I needed to know. I needed to be sure someone could love me for who I am, not for what I have." Tears gathered in her eyes. "So all this time, you were never poor?" "I stepped away from the family wealth," Ikenna continued. "Too many women pretended to love me. They left when I refused to fund their lifestyles. I wanted to find someone real." She shook her head slowly. "You lied to me, Ikenna." "I know," he said quickly, "and I'm sorry. But I never lied about my love. That was real from the beginning." Chidinma was quiet for a long while. Then she let out a soft sigh. "You owe me," she said, crossing her arms. He blinked. "I do." "Yes, for lying. A car and a mansion, at the very least." Ikenna laughed, loud and free. "Consider it done, my queen," he said, pulling her into a warm embrace. Chidinma smiled as her tears fell. "I love you, Ikenna. And I love you more, Dr. Chidinma to be." In the days that followed, the truth spread like wildfire. The poor security guard, a wealthy heir, The girl thrown away like scrap? Now royalty. Back in Amiri, Papa Natazi sat on his rickety bench, the news hitting him like a thunderclap. "What do you mean she's married to a billionaire?" he growled. "She's now living in a mansion," one villager said. He called her immediately. "My daughter, please forgive me. I was blind. I didn't know." Chidinma's voice was calm. "I forgive you, but don't call me for nonsense. Take care of your wife. I'm at peace now." He stammered, but she had already ended the call. 2 years later, under the bright lights of a university hall, Dr. Chidinma Nataziobi walked across the graduation stage in a white coat, her shoulders straight, her face glowing. From a front row, Ikenna screamed, "That's my wife, the most beautiful doctor alive." After the ceremony, he hugged her tightly. "You did it, my love." She smiled. "We did it." One afternoon, Ikenna took her on a drive to a quiet estate. They stopped in front of a huge white mansion with golden gates. "Why are we here?" Chidinma asked, looking around. Ikenna stepped out, walked around the car, and opened her door. "This," he said, holding up a bunch of keys, "is your mansion, my queen." Chidinma gasped. "Stop playing." "I'm serious," he said, grinning. "And I owe you a car, too, remember?" As she laughed and hugged him tightly, she suddenly pulled back and whispered, "I also have something to tell you." He looked concerned. "What is it?" She placed a gentle hand on her stomach. "I'm 3 months pregnant." Ikenna's eyes widened. Then he shouted for joy, lifting her into the air. "Chidinma, you've given me everything. A wife, a future, now a child." He knelt and kissed her stomach. "I love you, my baby." She smiled through tears. "From dust to royalty. Truly, my name is Glory." 3 years later, the gates of the Obi mansion swung open slowly as a black SUV pulled into the grand compound. The air shimmered with sunlight. Birds chirped in distant trees, and laughter echoed from the backyard. In the center of it all stood Dr. Chidinma Nataziobi, dressed in a white gown, gently rocking her baby girl to sleep beneath a mango tree. A lot had changed. The woman who once swept village compounds barefoot now had a stethoscope with her name engraved in gold. She owned a small but growing medical center in the city and had begun sponsoring young girls from poor homes who wanted to go to school. Her foundation, From Dust to Dignity, was already gaining attention. But it wasn't just about her achievements. It was the peace, the stillness in her spirit, the warmth in her home. And beside her always was Ikenna. He had since stepped fully into the family business, importing agricultural equipment, building modern farms across Nigeria. But he never let the money change him. He still cooked for her on Sundays, still massaged her feet after long hospital shifts, still prayed over their baby before bed. That afternoon, Chidinma sat across from him at their marble dining table, feeding their daughter mashed bananas. "Ikenna," she said, "do you remember that tiny boy's quarters?" He chuckled. "With the loose wardrobe handle I never fixed?" She laughed. "That one. Those days were special," he said. "We had almost nothing, but we had each other." She nodded, her eyes soft. "And to think it all started because my father gave me away like a bag of cassava." Ikenna's smile faded slightly. Funny how rejection can be the path to royalty. Later that week, Chidinma was invited to speak at a girls' leadership summit. As she stood at the podium, clad in a soft purple blouse and native wrapper, the crowd hushed. "I am not here today because I was born with silver spoons," she began. "In fact, I was thrown away, literally. My father gave me to a man instead of paying him." Gasps moved through the hall. "But that man became my refuge. He didn't just give me shelter. He gave me dignity. He respected me when I didn't even respect myself. And because of that, I became more than I ever imagined." She held up her wedding ring and smiled. "Today, I am a wife, a mother, a doctor. But more than that, I am proof that broken beginnings can still lead to beautiful destinations." The applause was thunderous. Tears rolled down many cheeks. As she stepped off the stage, she was greeted by a familiar face. Obinna, her little half-brother from Amiri. He was taller now, in his teens, wearing the school uniform of a prestigious boarding school. "Sis," he said, running to hug her. "Oh, Binna," she whispered, holding him close. "You've grown so tall." "I passed all my exams," he said proudly. "Uncle Ikenna is paying for everything." She turned to see Ikenna standing nearby, smiling gently. After the event, the family returned home. That night, as the moon bathed the mansion in silver light, Ikenna and Chidinma lay side by side on their bed, their daughter asleep in a cradle beside them. "Ikenna," she said softly, "what if I had said yes to Damilola?" He smiled faintly. "Then I would have waited until God redirected your heart." She laughed quietly, then turned serious. "I still think about the women like me, the girls still stuck in homes like I was. Sometimes I feel guilty for surviving." He turned toward her. "Survivors don't owe guilt. They owe courage, and you've been giving that in abundance." She kissed his cheek. "Thank you for being different." "You made it easy to be," he replied. Suddenly, a notification buzzed on Ikenna's phone. He picked it up, eyes scanning briefly. "It's Mama Nkechi," he said. Chidinma raised an eyebrow. "She wants to come visit. With Damilola." Chidinma hesitated, then sighed. "Let them come. I've healed." The next weekend, the two arrived at the mansion gate. Damilola was more reserved, humble. His once flashy clothing was replaced with simplicity. Mama Nkechi carried a basket of fruits. "I just wanted to say," Damilola began, eyes lowered. "You were right. I chased shadows. I didn't understand love until I lost the chance to find it." Chidinma nodded gently. "It's all right. God used it to teach all of us." As they left, Mama Nkechi turned and smiled. "You were the blessing we never expected," she said. "And Ikenna he chose well." That night, Chidinma stood by the nursery window, her daughter in her arms, watching the moon rise. Ikenna came behind her and wrapped his arms around them both. "Do you remember what you whispered that night?" he asked softly. She smiled. "Yes." I said, "Our better days are coming." And I said, "Yes, my queen. Step by step, we'll get there." They looked down at their baby, her tiny fingers curled, her chest rising and falling in quiet sleep. "We're here now," Chidinma whispered, "and it's only the beginning." As the night wrapped its arms around their home, a quiet truth settled in the air. Sometimes the most glorious crowns are forged in fire. And sometimes the girl the world tried to discard becomes a woman the world can never forget.